Alright guys, been asked by a few people to create a build video of my motorized Livescope pole. I'm going to try to break it down the best I can and show you everything that I can detail wise. Start out this box. This one is, hold on, junction box, waterproof junction box off Amazon. Everything on this came from Amazon. 2-pack. I think it was like $9 and some change for a 2-pack. That's what I use for the box, and it comes with these wire glands, waterproof. Comes with 4 of them. You only need a few of them. It comes with a seal that goes around the lid. You'll just trim it up after you poke it in, get it size. What I did do, if you can see, there are 2 tabs on either side and they're elevated. Now I did use a Dremel tool and shave those smooth, just so it'd be easier to fit everything in, because once the motor goes in, it's pretty tight. All right. This is the motor I used. It is a 10 RPM, 12 volt dual shaft, high torque motor. Relatively small, does fit in the box. Here it is mounted inside the box. Gland that comes in on this side, on the right side through, and I just soldered the connections. It really doesn't matter which way you have the connections because you're going to be reversing it anyways. It is a reversible motor. You will have to line up. There are 4 holes in the base, right here, there. Those are to mount the motor. You will have to, I made a little template and drilled the holes in the base, drilled the hole out for the shaft, and was able to go through with some 4mm bolts with washers to lock it down tight. And I did get this. I've had it for a while, but it helped me a lot on this build. It's just a set off of Amazon, multi-use set. It's got everything you can think of, metric wise, up to a let's see, M5, M6. Most of the stuff I used was M4s, but it saved me from having to go to the hardware store. Also, I used a couple pieces of this. This is from Harbor Freight, just hex screws. They just happen to be the same in the set that you mount for the oil tracks, for the screws on it. So I bought those just to have extra. And once you get that done, I used a longer M4 bolt. You can see it there. It bottoms out in the shaft. This is threaded inside the shaft. I used the top one just so I have something poking up through the top of the lid to attach the indicator to, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. And if you see right here, these are nut certs. They are basically rivets, but they're threaded. You can buy the set off Amazon, eBay, Temu, wherever you'd like to. You can buy it at Harbor Freight, the manual version. But these go on, and it looks a lot like a rivet gun. Drill your holes out, insert them, follow the instructions, crimp them down, and now I have threaded inserts to bolt my plate to, which I'll show you shortly, to mount it. Let me get this together. I'll be right back. All right, and here is, it has a 6mm collar. Bought on Amazon. It was a 4-pack. Be all you need as far as the collars go. And that nut was sticking up just above this lid, and that's what that is run down to and tightened up to. If you can see the nuts, the screws that go in, set screws. And it just so happens that this Minn Kota top, and I did the plastic clips, I did trim those off, leave your center open, and on that 6mm, it is actually extremely snug. I'm pulling pretty hard. Once you push it down, it's extremely snug. I've not had any issue with it. Haven't had it move. But you can drill a slot out and put a screw in if you so desire. Until I have an issue with it, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it just like this. And that is your actual motor with your directional arrow, and that is just a standard Minn Kota. They're like $10 offline. All you actually need is the arrow top. It comes with the connecting collar that goes down, but you won't need that. Then we'll work over to the shaft. This shaft, if I can get it all in, this is a 18mm bore, 22mm diameter, outside diameter, 500mm long carbon fiber shaft. They're a 2-pack on Amazon for like $35. There it is. Very light, but very strong. Here is the fun part. Again, there's a 6mm collar. There are 2 flanges here. This upper one is an 8mm bore flat flange. This one is a 14mm. If you see the holes line up to connect them together, I have a 6mm hex key inside that connects this collar to this. This is what these set screws go in and hold. And these bottom set of set screws lock into the hex key that I cut off to tie it together. We go back to these. These are M4 bolts through with nuts. That's where that set comes in handy. Be able to attach it. It's the only strong way I found to attach. And if you look in this collar, you see these that I used to tighten down to the hex screw. Those same holes are in this bottom flange. I was able to bring this up, mark it, and drill a hole on each side into this fiberglass or carbon fiber, and was able to run a nut in or a bolt in on either side to hold it tight. Then on down this section down here, I extended the pole out. It will reach the water. Your transducer will be in the water with just the standard length of the carbon fiber shaft. The only issue is when you're in wakes or waves, it will splash out. I'll be fishing some rougher water where I'll be in constant waves, especially in the summer. So I wanted an extension on it, and this is actually a broom handle from Dollar Tree, or a 5-quarter store as I call it now. This is the threaded end inserted into that carbon fiber shaft. I pre-drilled some holes offset and run some black screws in to hold it tight. And then this end, this is the end of the broom handle. Did have a hook to hang it up. I cut that off and used a soldering iron to close up the holes that it leaves. There are holes when they formed it. Didn't want any water getting in it. And the rubber, this is heat shrink tubing, and this is rubber hose cut around it just to give some thickness to it for the transducer to clamp to. The heat shrink you can get anywhere, and that's a piece of hose from my garage. I got a lot of stuff sitting out there. You'll see a lot of this that I used. It was just stuff I had laying around. All right, let's get the shaft together. All right, the shaft is connected just straight to the bottom side shaft of the motor. It's connected down. All one piece now. This is the only thing I really took a lot of time on. This is the mount and support arm that I made. I made a dog bone style that went between the transducer pole and the trolling motor shaft. It did fine except for trailering in rough water. The pole was able to shift sideways because there's no hard support. It did keep them separated. It worked fine. I was just worried about damage to the shaft, damage to the motor gears with so much movement. So I decided to make this. This is the original mount that I started with. It's just a steel plate I had laying around the garage. I drilled one hole here. I'll show you where that mounts on the box. This is a piece of square tube I had. I think it is 1/2 inch square tube. I just, a lot of back and forth cutting and measuring, getting my angle right. And this is a 1 inch shaft collar. A lot like what comes on older trolling motors for the 2-piece shaft. The shaft collar keeps it together, keeps the bearing up in the race. I just used it. It actually goes around. Like I said, this is 22 millimeters, which is 0.8 of an inch. With this 1 inch, you have just enough clearance that it'll move inside of it, but not enough wiggle room to do any damage. I would love to have got a bearing and sleeved it and let it a bearing sit across the shaft. But what I found, the cheapest bearing I found was around $150, and I just couldn't see spending that on just to go around it. This works real well, and I'm happy with it. As long as it works well, then that's all that really matters. I may revise stuff later on as I use this up more often, but right now I'm gonna get this mount on, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like. All right, here is everything together minus the transducer itself. You see the support pole comes just down behind the box. Comes to a third of the way down the shaft. Gives good support. Just barely any wiggle room in there for the shaft, which is what I wanted. I did put a plug on either end. I'll show you on the trolling motor itself. That way I can take this off. Right now I have it, the transducer mounted to the trolling motor shaft. While I was doing this, I went fishing this morning, so I didn't want to take it on and off, without having some way to remove the power to it. Cable sits there. This is the only thing I have to take off. Just do that and swap back over to the trolling motor shaft, which takes 10 minutes tops. Take everything apart. This is the other portion you'll need. This is what I use for a foot switch. It is a reversing, has its own reversing solenoid built in. Toggle switch. I'll show you the mount I have in the boat to be able to run it. Works really well for me. I did have originally had it on a remote. I'm gonna wire it up and use that plug so I can run it off a remote control if I wanted to. Say I was crappie fishing and running the trolling motor by remote trolling, I'd be able to use this as well. This is a speed switch. I mentioned on my other one, be able to control the speed. I'm actually pretty happy with the way this turns. Even at 10 RPM is what it's rated at. It doesn't spin extremely fast. Well, at least this one hasn't. I may have been sent the wrong motor. This may be a lower RPM, but it doesn't seem that way. But it does work really well for me. I'm able to stop it in small increments. And if I'm wanting to look out towards deep water, if I'm near the bank, I can spin it around pretty quickly. I don't have to wait forever for it to turn. So for right now, no speed switch. I do have it. I have another speed switch as well. They come in a 2-pack. As you can see, they're not expensive, easy to wire up. And if you want to go the remote route, there is remote control switch, $25. Actually got a 5% coupon. Comes with 2 remotes. You can set it to, it comes constant. There is instructions on how to change it to momentary with the up and down button. So all you do is bump it and it'll turn in increments instead of just free spinning and having to stop it. It did work well, but I like to have my hands free. That was a cheap way to do it to start with, to test it, and decide to go with that foot switch. And I'll get out to the boat, mount this up, and show you how it works.